Wide receiver.
Who? Of course, I
Just
gotta be
just
first
the
here,
right
huh?
just the right man. Just the right man. Go ahead. Go ahead, take it. I ain't even got no spill, no nothing. Go ahead, Dave. I'm a, I wish I had some popcorn. I'd be over there. I'd be like,
So I will say this. Obviously, I agree with the four locks. I'm not gonna argue with you regarding that. 5 and 6 is gonna be a fluid situation between now and Tuesday because
Mm-hmm.
I was having a back and forth in a chat because they were telling me that Leggett was going to get 500 yards receiving. Me and Rashad had the discussion during the live stream yesterday as well. And
right.
and me being a fantasy guy, I questioned if it was possible with the amount of receivers that we have. And I think the only way it can be is if somebody gets moved. Brandon
Mm,
Marshall, they've been trying to move Brandon Marshall. If they don't move anybody, it's going to be Marshall and ISM, pending the injury situation with ISM. Because if the ISM injury is serious, they might not bring him back and roll with Moore or Coker. They're probably likely Moore because Moore knows the system. I think they're going to shoot to have. I think they're going to shoot to hopefully put Coker on the practice squad. I'm concerned that he's not going to make it through.
that's a
Very
big risk.
concerned. But the thing is, all right. So and listen, we got the PNP got the interview Coker, phenomenal young man. Let me be clear when I say that. I'm legitimately concerned. And that's why earlier before the training camp, I was saying that if you're gonna Coker's got to get on the 53 because you're talking about development long term. You kind of got to make a move like that
Right.
because I don't think Marshall's part of the long term plans. I could see Coker being part of the long term plans, and those type of decisions become a factor. That's what makes it so hard because there was talk that they might only keep five. I mean, there's no way Coker's gonna make it then.
Ooh.
So
Damn.
Only five?
only five. Well, and so the last year when the Bucks and I me and Rashad and it could change. It's based on rosters, right? But last year the Bucks
Right.
only kept five
Mm,
when he was the OC.
Mm.
So that's a possibility. There could be a possibility where they move Marshall and then they decide between ISM and Moore, and that'll be it. They're not gonna
Oh,
keep
and
both.
I'm sorry, Dave. And also on the screen there, that little double arrow next to Marshall is it's kind of an indicator that he might be traded. So that
yeah.
if anybody's wondering,
Yeah.
that's what that is for.
I mean, best case scenario for me, you trade Marshall, he goes. You pick between ISM and Moore, and Coker makes the 53. That's the best case scenario for me. I don't think you keep both ISM and Moore. I
So
don't see a scenario where that happens, but
yeah. So you
you know,
took so you saying 6 or 7?
no, it's not gonna be more than
6.
six.
Okay.
So you got the four locks.
Right.
I'm gonna assume that we're gonna move Marshall. All
Okay.
right. So in that case, I'm gonna move Marshall. If the injury is not that serious for ISM is five. If it is, then it's more, and then Coker can get on the 53.
Mm,
Otherwise,
okay.
if we don't trade Marshall, then it's going to have to be Marshall, and then it's going to be between ISM and Moore based on the injury situation. I think if ISM did not get hurt, it would be ISM, but then you got the factor in with the Moore situation. So this position is so fluid right now because of everything else that's going on. It's just
Yeah.
and the thing about and I know that if the Panthers can get Marshall traded, they're going to because you requested a trade last year. Folks got
Mm.
to remember that. Folks
Mm-hmm.
forget it. Folks forgot about that piece. So I don't see a
Okay.
scenario
O-
where they keep seven. I don't.
Okay. All right, Ben, what you got?
All right, yeah. This is the one I was excited to talk about.
I see you over there chomping at the
Yeah,
bit.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Okay, so man, it's just a whirlwind right now. There was up till about 2 weeks ago, I was campaigning saying ISM was an absolute lock, and part of that was because he's our best punt returner on the team. Like he has that ability. He can turn any punt into a touchdown. We saw him do it last year. I've been a proponent of I don't think he gets enough looks. I don't think he gets enough opportunities downfield as a receiver. They use him a lot in the jet sweeps and the screens and, the gadgety type stuff. And obviously they know more than than we do as fans. I'm just going off of what I've
Right.
seen. Man, me and Eric talked about this on our podcast. Like, y'all remember ISM's highlights with the Chiefs last year? Like, he was impressive, man. He was like the preseason MVP. I know it's preseason,
Right.
but ISM got some talent, and I would love to see him get more of an opportunity. Now with his injury, the little cross you got there next to his name, have we heard anything else about that at this point? I don't think we have gotten any reports on, what the prognosis is on that, have we? It was an ankle injury yesterday.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
It's an ankle.
Yeah, that's all we've gotten so far. That's an ankle injury.
Yeah, so that makes me kind of question his ability to make the 53 at this point. And then, I mean, Steve Smith was talking about on the broadcast about David Moore being his wide receiver 5. I feel like David Moore is a lock at this point. I think you could say the past relationship with Canales is part of that. I think that's why he was brought here, but I don't think that alone guaranteed David Moore a spot on the 53. I think the rapport that he's shown with Bryce in camp and in the preseason with the other quarterbacks when he's gotten opportunities, and just you heard Dave Canales talk about him, like he's just reliable, except for the touchdown that he dropped Saturday. He's pretty reliable.
The one that Coker did not drop.
Right, exactly.
That's why I'm afraid he ain't gonna clear, guys. I think if he didn't get that touchdown, I was feeling comfortable about him potentially clearing. But now I'm worried because he can run the routes. He knows the tree. The kid's good, man. I watch FCS football more than I watch FBS football. The kid's good. He's legit. He is legit.
Yeah. Coker.
Somebody might pull him. I'm very concerned about that.
100%. Coker is.
I ain't gonna.
So
yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead, man. I apologize.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I was just saying, Coker. Yeah, we talk. Eric and I have been talking about him too. Like he, first of all, and I know this doesn't necessarily mean anything in the long run, but it stuck out to me that I know he wasn't drafted, but they went out and they made a point to go get him as an undrafted free agent, and they gave him a contract bigger than some late round draft picks get paid. Like they wanted Coker, and like Dave said, I highly doubt he makes it through waivers if he gets cut. Like he's not making it to the practice squad because he's young. He's younger than TMJ. He can do all the same things that TMJ can do, and he's probably a better route runner than TMJ. And he at the combine, he can jump out of the building too. He had the highest recorded vertical at the combine for wide receivers this year, which didn't get talked about a lot.
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
So
that.
He's a good athlete. He's not a burner. He's not going to outrun every defensive back, but he's so crafty. He's good at running his routes and setting guys up, like we saw in the preseason game. So I think, like right now, aside from the top 4 guys there, currently, I would put unless, God, this is so freaking hard.
That's what I said too. That's why I did. That's why I gave you like 5 different equations.
TMJ, I think Joseph Person in his most recent article today reported that some NFL official that he interviewed said that the Panthers are currently shopping TMJ.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't get traded, I feel like TMJ probably initially makes the 53, but then they continue trying to offload him because I think Coker is in their future plans. I really do.
Hey, Ben, let's do this. I didn't want to do this with Dave because I wanted to put the pressure on him. Let's just assume that TMJ is traded. Let's just assume TMJ is traded. Now, who would be your other 2 or 3 besides the locks?
If TMJ gets traded, it's Johnson, Thielen, Mingo, Leggett, Moore, and Coker. And then ISM might go to the practice squad because now this could change if he gets his injury prognosis comes back different. But I just think based on the opportunities that we've been seeing guys get in the preseason, ISM's not getting a ton of opportunities downfield. Like Coker and Moore are the guys getting more of those reps. So I don't know. I think it would be the top 4 and then Moore and Coker for me if TMJ were to get traded. But then that leaves you with the question of If ISM's not on the roster, who do we have at punt returner? Is it going to be like Jameson, or are they going to throw Leggett back there or something?
I mean,
Like
Jameson
Now,
can. I mean, Jameson did do it at Texas.
well, hold on. Jameson, Moore,
Moore,
ISM, all took reps in during training camp at punt return.
yeah.
And
Okay.
during the Buffalo game yesterday, Jameson did I think he took a kickoff, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yeah. He ran a good
He
kickoff
did
back.
take one kickoff. Yeah. Hey, and Tony,
Yeah.
real quick, Eric's got to go here in a minute, so I say we go ahead and let
Okay.
him give his lineup next.
Okay. Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I have a fantasy draft for my son that I get to do every year. So sorry, I have
Don't
to
worry
bounce
about it.
for it, but it is for a good reason.
You all
Yeah.
good.
I mean, we talked, CJ, when you were on our show a couple weeks ago, we talked about this exact subject, and it was who was going to be making it. I said at the time that I think it's going to be Coker and ISM, but that was before Moore kind of started showing out a little bit more. So no pun intended. But I do think that the great problem is they made it really hard on us to make this decision because Marshall, ISM, Moore, Coker all played really well. They all had good catches. So if we end up taking 6, then I'm going with Moore and Coker as well. And then I don't know, maybe we can do some trickeration with ISM in terms of designations or something like that in order to keep him around. That's what I'm going with.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. We definitely appreciate you being on the show, man. We definitely hope to see you again. You're welcome
Yeah,
back
absolutely.
anytime, man.
Thanks
All
so much for
right.
having us. I really, really appreciate it. And we will catch you guys on the next one for sure.
See you, buddy.
Okay.
See ya.
Thanks,
Have
guys.
a good
B,
one.
Appreciate
you
y'all.
leaving or you staying?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. All right, Doug, go ahead. It's on you.
Like I said, I already know these next 2 people are not going to like my takes because I'm not going to be favorites. I'm not going to say, oh, we need this particular person for special teams. What can you do for me as your main position group? ISM. One thing Ben said, I mean, when he was able to display it when he was at Kansas City, he was a leading wide receiver at Kansas City during preseason. He has not been able to display that here currently at Carolina due to him being at the lower of the tolling pole for our wide receivers. But again, there must be someone that I'm surprised out of some of these gentlemen that we were all together that we can't put our heads to figure out which wide receivers taking over TMJ after what we saw against the joint practice. I'm totally shocked after what transpired at the joint practice to now that he's on a trading block. I did hear earlier in the season that, hey, they're going to showcase TMJ as much as they can and get him out of here. For me, like I said, the top 4 are untouchable. That's just me. They're untouchable. They're not going anywhere. Jalen Coker, I think if you put him out there on waivers, one thing that Dave said is, just like with Jack Plummer, there's no way Jalen Coker is going to clear waivers. I would be totally shocked if they even risk it biscuit where they put him out there and somebody did not grab him.
I'll be honest, man. I think it's more likely that David Moore would clear waivers than Coker.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes,
Correct.
definitely.
So they
Good
playing
point.
chess.
Good point.
So now they playing chess.
So
About damn
I
time.
agree. I mean, I totally agree because again, so that's 4. So I'm putting Jalen Coker there. ISM, I was telling Tony and CJ, depending on how severe the injury is, put him on the pup list. Put him on the pup list. And then once everything happens, you don't let TMJ go just walk. Again, if you want value, and one thing that Dan Morgan wants, he wants value for players. As what I don't think I've ever made a statement on 2 fans. We basically got 2 starters for a 7th-round pick. You got a starting corner and you got a starting wide receiver for a 7th-round pick. When we look at the trade that we did with Dante Jackson, we literally got 2 starters on this team now with a corner and a wide receiver. And I do think Dan Morgan's going to try to get some type of value with it. And like I said, I'll take the top 2. I will take TMJ right now unless he's traded, ISM on the pup, and then I'm tailing Jalen Coker.
Hey, now
So
Doug, now
7.
with we saying ISM on the pup. Now, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I said this the other day, but I just want to make sure I'm right. And if somebody goes on the pup, they have to make the 53-man roster initially, right? And then they have to be placed on the pup list.
Same thing with IR. I think
Okay.
there's a rule now where you can IR a limited amount of players in short-term IR and it doesn't affect your 53. But I think it's on like 2 or 3 players, maybe 4 at the most. So
Okay.
you could probably
Okay,
pick
cool.
4 but now remember short-term IR, which means that means they got to be out for a period of time.
Yeah.
So you
Right.
got to and I think
At
we've
least a
had more than
minimum
enough,
4 games, right?
at least 4
I
games
think it's a
and
minimum. Yeah, 4 games.
minimum 4 games. And the thing is you have a limit of how many times you can do this, and we have a lot of injuries on this team right now. We got a few folks where I already know that could definitely fit the bill in different positions. So
Right.
Okay. Back.
Right. Ryan, what you got? Have you went yet, Ryan?
I have not. I've been listening and just soaking this all in. Like Ben, I'm very excited to talk about this position. Okay. If anyone's listened to my podcast, Inside the Vault, you know I am a big Terrace Marshall Jr. fan. And that is
Right.
coming from a
Right.
Florida Gator fan, even though he went to LSU. Anyway, that joke aside. So I like Terrace Marshall. He was with Bryce Young when they went out to California earlier in the offseason. There's a reason he was with them. They have a good rapport going. Now, that being said, business is business. They got to do what they got to do. I believe the shopping of Marshall is true. However, like someone just said, Dan is not just going to give him away. They will trade him only if they have the value. Otherwise, I think they like him and they will keep him. If the value is not there, and the position that we get back does not match, what's good for both sides. So I would say if we're just discussing my roster prediction here, the top 4 locks, obviously they're there. Marshall 5, Moore 6, Coker. That's my biggest concern is Coker. I almost swapped him for Moore. Yeah, I actually no. I will swap Coker. Coker and Marshall would be my 2. Smith Marset would be either on the practice squad or, like someone said, short-term IR pup. And then Moore gets cut simply because he served his time as kind of like the guy who was brought in to help learn the system. But we know what he is at this point. At the end of the day, I think Coker and Marshall have bigger upside than David Moore. And I've been someone I think who has been on record. Let's be honest. Unless you can get the value you want back for a guy like Terrace Marshall, I think everyone's in agreement here. If he can actually show what he can do during the regular season and not just in the preseason, and bring that wide receiver 5, wide receiver 4 potential, I think everybody would take that. That's another weapon for Bryce that keeps defenses honest. And he's a big frame guy. His routes are not the best, but I think this coaching staff is giving him a chance, and I think that's really all he's asked for. Because yes, he did request a trade last year, but that was a previous coaching staff. This is a new regime now, so I think they're giving him every chance to make this team. But business is business, where they will not hesitate to trade him if the value is correct and the return is worthwhile on both sides.
Okay. All right, CJ, what you got?
Let me see. All right. So 4 locks at the top. If Marshall is not traded, go ahead and add him. He would be number 5. All right. And then you got Smith, Marset, Moore, and Coker. And I kind of agree with everybody else. I would probably let David Moore go. And keep Coker, and maybe put ISM, on the on the pup or that short-term IR, if we could. And hopefully our guy, down at the bottom, Sam Pinckney, hopefully, if he does get cut, he can clear waivers and make the practice squad. We've always been a big supporter of him too, so we hope he can come back and make the practice squad. But yeah, the top 4, Marshall if he stays, and Coker. But now if Marshall is traded, depending on ISM's injury, we could see, Coker ISM or, Coker Moore, whichever one they want to go with. But I think it would be I think it would be Coker and Smith Marset if Terrace Marshall is traded.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna give mine real quick. Of course, the four locks: Johnson, Thielen, Mingo, Leggett. I believe like I'm already assuming that Terrace Marshall will be traded. So that's the case. I will go with Coker and Moore and Smith Marset. If the injury is not too bad, maybe they they were saying earlier we could put them on short term IR. I'm of the mindset that we keep 7 wide receivers and there's gonna be another position that we take one from. Maybe the safety room or maybe the cornerback room or something like that. I think the wide receiver room this year is deeper than what they had in Tampa last year. So I don't like I said, I don't know their whole reasoning for only keeping 5, especially when Chris Godwin came back last year off that ACL injury. So it's
Mm.
always 50-50 when those guys come back. But I do like the depth of this wide receiver room. And I think those guys can add added value, especially when you're talking about Smith Marset and David Moore. And Coker is the young gun that can, you keep him, then put him on the practice squad, and then you got time to develop him. Okay.